This is one of the world's most famous authors, Margaret Atwood, torching an unburnable edition of her most famous book.
I put on the gear and was handed a flamethrower, and then they got very nervous. They said, "Just the book, Margaret, just point it just at the book."
The stunt was a defiant response to the growing wave of book bans in the United States, a reminder that some ideas refuse to go up in flames. As The Handmaid's Tale and several of her other novels are removed from American schools and libraries, the Canadian author has become a symbol in the fight for free speech.
I look back at the time when America was regarded rightly or wrongly as an open liberal democracy and a champion of the free world. One has a certain nostalgia for those days.
Atwood has written more than 60 books, sold around 40 million copies, and is one of the rare writers to have won the Booker Prize twice. Margaret Atwood was a guest at Porto's Babell, a new literary gathering dedicated to the power of words and the freedom to write them.
She's a kind of oracle, you know. She actually can see the future of mankind.
Fortunately, she became a prophet of what might happen in the future if we don't pay attention to her words. So for that reason, I think everyone should read Margaret Atwood.
Teach me a lot about how to become a little bit a feminist.
She's very important in this moment because she was a prophet.
We first met back in Paris in 2014. Since then, a lot has happened in the world.
It has.
We've had Donald Trump twice. We've had Brexit, a global pandemic, the rise of AI. We've had abortion outlawed in parts of the US. We've had rising book bans. Your fiction warned about a lot of it. I was wondering, out of the things that I've mentioned, is there something that particularly shocked you?
Shocked. At my age, no, I don't shock easily. Worried, yes. Caused anxiety, yes, but not, oh, I never thought this would happen.
What was the most significant shift you think we've lived through?
Oh, I think they're all significant. So I'm very interested in the French Revolution right now because we're in a time of similar turbulence. The French Revolution was the first modern revolution, and we have seen repetitions of it ever since, including the Russian Revolution, for instance. And we have just seen a right-wing revolution in the United States. So shocking, no. Interesting, yes. You know the Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times.
Written in 1985, The Handmaid's Tale imagines a near-future America overtaken by a religious dictatorship, a society called Gilead, which forces fertile women to serve as sex slaves and childbearers for a powerful elite.
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
It sold 10 million copies and became an Emmy-winning TV series with a cameo from Margaret. It's also become an emblem of real-world resistance, the red and white uniform worn by protesters around the world.
They should have never given us uniforms if they didn't want us to be an army.
What's it been like seeing that book that you wrote such a long time ago becoming such an important symbol?
Well, you write such a book in the hopes that it will not become an important symbol. So on the one hand, quite weird. On the other hand, at least it's there as a symbol. So you know the people who started it were women in Texas. They decided that they would go to a political meeting of the state government where a lot of men in suits were signing laws about something they didn't understand, namely women's bodies. And they would go dressed as handmaids because we live in an age of television and visual images, and they would be understood without having to say anything.
Well, The Handmaid's Tale and several of your books are on banned reading lists in the United States for various reasons, accused of being sexually explicit, anti-Christian, and morally subversive.
Yes, well, I object to the anti-Christian because I feel that the people objecting to my book are not Christian. They're not sticking to the central principles of Christianity, and that would be the golden rule and love your neighbor as yourself. They're not doing much of that. So who are they to say that I'm anti-Christian? I feel that I'm upholding the honor of Christianity by displaying its perversion. But as for, having a handmaid for reproductive purposes, it's biblical. It's right out of the story of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, and the two handmaids. So 12 tribes of Israel did not come from one man and one woman. It came from one man and 4 women.
What do you think people are really trying to achieve when they're banning books?
Control. Yeah, so control and assertion of power.
But it just makes us want to read them more, doesn't it?
Well, if we're curious people, it does. If we're fearful people, it doesn't. So if it's a real totalitarian dictatorship, you could get shot for having a banned book. In a society like the United States, where they're banning them in school libraries and things like that, but not from bookstores, then people get curious, and then it's not a really fearful thing to own such a book.
You've talked a lot about your optimism for the United States over the years. I wonder, do you still feel optimistic about America?
Yes, in a guarded sort of way. It's very interesting to watch things unfold. I'm saddened by some of the developments. In this last year alone, the war with Iran, notably, have weakened its position considerably, and some of those have been own goals. It's not an edifying spectacle any more than it was edifying to watch Britain scoring an own goal with Brexit. But when things become turbulent and unsettled, people often make these decisions, which in retrospect seem very stupid.
Do you feel that you are a symbol in the fight for freedom of expression?
It's difficult because everybody expects you to be their version of what they desire. So, and of course you're not. You're just yourself. So I sometimes do not. My views do not accord with theirs, and then they get upset because they think that I believed what they believed, whereas in fact I never did.
Well, the same has sort of been the case for being a feminist icon, hasn't it? There are so many different feminist versions of feminists, like
at
as you
least
say.
75. I think you just have to be very clear. So if somebody says, "Are you a feminist?" you have to say, "Which kind?" So I'm obviously some kind, and I would say that the kind that I would say that I'm one of is the kind that sees feminism as a subset of human rights, and I'm interested in the legal aspects, what laws say about women. I'm much less interested in the kind that dictates how you should dress.
For her new book, just translated into French, a memoir, starting in the deep forests of northern Canada with her father, who was a biologist, it retraces her journey to the international stage. It's also a quiet love story about her partner, Graham Gibson, who died in 2019.
I did come away from your memoir thinking you were a very optimistic person, and also thinking that you had a good life, a great life. Is that how you feel?
Well, I feel that we lived in a lucky time and place. So when you ask somebody what kind of life they had, it's going to be very dependent on what country they lived in and what the circumstances were during their life. So I was born in 1939. Not everybody born in 1939 had the same kind of life as I did. So it kind of helps to come from a boring, unknown country.
So you feel lucky?
Yes. I don't really think Canada's boring and unknown anymore, but it was for years. People didn't pay much attention to it.
You said you don't care much about legacy.
Why would I?
I wondered, what do you think people will remember you for?
So typically, if you've been quite a well-known writer, you die, there's an upsurge in book sales, and then there's a downsurge. And you may recover from that downsurge, or you may not. So things go up and down like that. I think the real question to ask is, will books still be important? Will people still be reading them? If not, all of this is moot.
What do you think?
Well, I'm optimistic enough to bet on a future in which there will still be people, there will still be a library, there will still be books, and people will still read them.
So we're coming to the end of our time together. I just wanted to ask you, from among the many Margarets in the book is a Margaret who is interested in tarot cards, astrology, and palm reading.
Yes, it's just part of the lore that you ought to have if you're a student of literary history, because those are the belief systems of the Renaissance, and you can't really understand Shakespeare unless you know that. My lucky stars, born under an unlucky star, that's what they thought.
And you are, of course, Scorpio.
Why do you say of course?
Because I read it in the book.
Oh, you read it in the book, yes. People say, do I believe this stuff? I said, I'm a Scorpio. We don't believe things. We're interested in things, but we don't usually subscribe to them.
I was wondering, would you read my palm?
I wondered when you would ask.
Does it matter
I
what
have
hand
to
it
read
is?
both of them. All right. You were never destined to be a plumber.
No.
No.
Or anything like that.
Nor anything like that. Not a carpenter, not any of those practical things. You're
Nope.
much more in the area of thinking and emotions.
I wouldn't be much use with you in the forest walking around.
But that's all right, because I would be there with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
How did I do?
Brilliant. You were very good.